Hello, good morning. My name is Sarah Ross, and I'm here to celebrate Bird Week. I'm at Trillium Park right now. It's very early in the morning. The sun has not yet risen, and I'd like to invite you to join me. I'm going to go and sit down and pay attention to the birds and what they're saying, what they're doing, and invite you into the kind of connection with birds. So come join me. Good morning once again, and thank you for joining me. This morning I'm feeling really grateful for the land stewards, the land tenders, the people that look after the land. And for me that means currently thanking earth hand gleaners and all the huge number of people that help tending the land here, and also the land tenders going back through time. So recently those people that decided to make this into a park, and way back through time immemorial of the Coast Salish people whose land this is and who tended this land. So I'm feeling really grateful. Okay, here we are. I want to talk about birds. It's Bird Week, so this is in honor of birds. And birds, there's a lot of birds here right now. It's spring, so they're migrating through, but also the resident birds are nesting and starting to nest and doing pair bonding and mating. And I think that for me, similar to the work of earth hand gleaners who encourage connection to place through land tending and learning ancestral skills and hand-based skills, and also there's this deep love for place. I'm just pausing because I hear a sky train, but I also hear the Anna's hummingbird singing. Can you hear that? I'll catch it next time. I'll point it out. So yeah. Oh, there it is. It's like chia, 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 chick, 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 chia, chia. Some people say the Anna's hummingbird sounds like a live electrical wire. See? Okay, so what I was saying was that earth hand gleaners, there's this deep love of place, and likewise with paying attention to birds, what I find is that it invites me into relationship with non-human creatures. And birds come to us, right? They fly through our cities, they make the best use of the space that they can, and they're always singing and letting us know they're around. And so paying attention to them for me, on one level, gets me right into my senses, so into the immediacy of being a mammal and a human who I can respond to what I hear and what I see. And what I've found practicing bird language and just learning more about it is the more I pay attention, the more attuned my senses become, and the more connected I am to what's happening right around me. So the basic premise of bird language, or what we're basing this on, is that for birds, they can't just go into their house and lock their door. For them, it's everyday life, like just eating, raising young. It's a matter of life and death. So birds have developed ways to communicate with their mate, with others of their species, but also birds communicate between species. So particularly the alarm calls are calls that all birds understand. And so the news spreads incredibly quickly if there's a hunting hawk on the wing. That news will travel from bird to bird often faster than the hawk travels itself. So that's why it's so hard to be a hawk, because they're always trying to out sneak the communication network. There's the Anna singing again. So if we can tune in, if we can start understanding what is this space like, it's called baseline. What is this space like when everything's just fine? When birds are nest building, when they're feeding, when they're singing, when they're just chattering amongst themselves. That is what we call the baseline. And so now that I've been here at Trillium Park for about 4 mornings in a row, and I'm starting to pick up on what it means, what the baseline is here, where there's no imminent danger to birds. Mostly this time of year, mostly song, and also companion calling. I'll talk a little bit more about those things. It's hard not to watch what's going on. There's so much interesting stuff. So this style of bird watching, it's pretty different from, I do have my binoculars here, but this style of bird watching I learned through my mentor, Jenna Rudolph, from the Soaring Eagle Nature School. And it's come through a lineage from John Young, who's the founder of the Wilderness Awareness School, and is also doing amazing work, and has been for 20, 30 years, I don't even know how many years, with nature connection and also cultural repair, looking at how communities can become more interdependent and nurturing of young and old alike. Oh gosh, there's bird drama. There's 2 crows mating right over there. Anyways, gratitude to the people that have brought me into this lineage. It's enriched my life. So what I wanted to say was sit spot. So this idea of bird watching, this method is, it just basically, you just find a place to sit and you listen and you look and you see what's happening. You don't particularly have to know what every species is, or you don't have to know that at all. You don't have to know, you just have to come with your curiosity, and mostly we're just paying attention to what the birds are doing. And so it's a very, question-based, curiosity-based, a relationship-building activity. So right now, like I said, the birds are singing a lot and nesting. Singing is one of the bird voices, the vocalizations of birds, that is about lifting our spirits, right? Because the bird song in the morning is just so wonderful, unless it wakes you up at 5 a.m. And song is about defending territory. It's about attracting a mate. And so that's why spring has the most bird song, because spring is the time when the birds are mating and having babies. And actually, which reminds me, one thing I'm going to do, my hope is that I'm going to let you know about what I've been seeing here. I'm hearing a little, just pausing, because, do you hear that? Do you hear that? That's just a little bit different from what we've been hearing so far. That's getting a little bit more alarmy to me, a little bit more insistent. That bird's like, hey, something's coming. Okay, where was I? Right, birds singing, nesting. Oh yeah, I was going to tell you, one of my hopes is that I want to just share with you what I've been seeing here. So it's a little bit of a wander. I hope that's okay. But the Anna's hummingbird, Sharon was telling me that Anna's hummingbird has a song perch right beside the Earth Hand Gleaners trailer. It comes up to the very tallest tip of the branch, and it sings. It does what it's doing now. This live wire. And the thing with Anna's is they nest super, super early. So for those of you who don't know, Anna's hummingbird is a jewel of a bird. Yesterday I was watching an Anna's also singing, the one that we're hearing right here. I was watching it singing, and Anna's has a black head, sort of, but it can, using tiny muscles in its body, it can flip its feathers or something, and the whole thing turns on like an LED light, but it's the whole head, and it's fuchsia pink, and then its body is metallic green, and it's this tiny little bird like this. It's a jewel. It's unreal to watch, and it's like a flashing light when it catches your eye. Crows. So the Annas they nest really, really early, and so in January they start nest building, and so the Annas definitely have a nest right here somewhere. It could even be in these wild roses behind me. and they've been singing about it since then. So my guess is they probably have babies in the nest right now. So I've only been seeing the male who's been singing on territory, so I'm not sure where the female is. But yeah, they are so fierce, those Anna's hummingbirds. I watched them yesterday. There was the one singing in the tree, or local, I assume, and then there was these two others that came screaming in. I say screaming because they were flying so fast, and they just looked like these little bullets, or like little things traveling through the air. And I could see them like spiraling around each other and kind of, I don't know what they were doing actually, but they came in, and the one here, the local, it just, you could hear it, it started making that live wire noise, and I could see them, it chased them away. They were going so fast, and it was, I don't know, less than a second until they were gone from my vision. But while they were going away, it reminded me of movies I've seen of like fighter pilots chasing each other, and it was so dramatic. So Anna's is fiercely defending this territory, and now that the wild roses are blooming here and the lupin's starting to bloom, it's even more exciting to defend, because I think there's a lot of birds that want a piece of that tasty, sweet nectar. Yeah, so that's Anna's hummingbird. Okay, where was I? I just had to change my camera battery. Oh, goodness. Okay. There's another thing I noticed when I was down here is I saw 4 different kinds of sparrows here. So the sparrows would have been something they love bushes, little bushes. They're kind of ground birds. And I saw 4 different kinds. But unless you're really sitting here paying attention, you're not even going to see them, because they like hide in the bushes, and they're down on the ground between the bushes. Also, I saw Wilson's warblers and orange-crowned warblers here yesterday, and they're also in the rose bushes, and they're inside it. They're hunting inside it. So I watched the orange-crowned come into the mountain ash here, and which is just budding right now, and the flowers are just starting to open. And the orange-crowned warbler was it was like creeping and going under the branches and go like this and like this with its pointy beak. And then I watched it grab a caterpillar, and a big, pretty juicy caterpillar gulped it down. And they're pretty good hunters, they're hunting insects. And I think, for me, that was a question. I didn't at first, when I started bird watching, I was just paying attention to what kind of bird it was. But now my questions are more like, what is it eating? It's eating a caterpillar. What kind of caterpillar? And I think the like fresh leaves just emerging right now, the miraculous unfolding of spring, it's so inspiring. The juicy leaves, there's all these hungry caterpillars that are eating the soft leaves. And then all these warblers that come through, they migrate through, mostly in the treetops. They're kind of a higher level bird usually, but they're beautifully colored and they have beautiful songs. And they're eating the worms as they go. But I want to get back to the sparrows. So the sparrows using this place, jumping around low in the ground. One thing that the sparrows do is when there's any sense of disturbance or alarm, some of them will pop right up onto one of the taller trees above the bushes. John Young calls it sentineling, but it's just like, what's going on? Am I safe? It's looking around. It's having a look. Sometimes it's doing a little bit, a little call. Sometimes so that's called sentineling, and you can see all different kinds of birds doing sentineling. One bird that commonly does it that you're probably aware of is the northern flicker. So they go right up to the top of the tree and clear, they say, and that they're looking. Also, Steller's jays do a lot of sentineling, and so do crows. Crows that pop up onto something tall, look around, watch their territory, see what's happening. So I was seeing sentineling behavior here yesterday with the sparrows. People call sparrows little brown birds, LBBs, because they're all just little brown birds. And so it really doesn't matter if you know what they are or not. It's just, what are they doing? I saw a white-crowned sparrow yesterday. So I was mentioning this whole area is lawn, and you can see they've mowed They've mowed the lawn fairly recently, like, in the last week probably, but they've left around the little trees, they've left the little ring that they couldn't really get the mower into, so there's this longer grass at the base of the trees. And I saw a white-crowned sparrow yesterday fly across the cut lawn directly to the long grass at the base of the tree, and it was using its talons, its claws or feet to sort of dig around in the grass. And I saw it coming back into the bushes here behind me with nesting material in its beak. So that's cool to see that they're thinking about nesting, or are starting to nest in these rose bushes here. Hello, goose. A solitary goose flying over. So this land here, we're well, as I mentioned, it would have been salt flats and a big marsh with so many different kinds of creatures and foods and plants and animals and birds. But now I've noticed every time I've sat here, there's a very direct marine connection here. So Trillium Park is situated like pretty close. We're in audible range, depending on which way the wind's blowing. We're in audible range of False Creek over by Science World, and we're also Burrard Inlet is also really close to here. So I was watching cormorants, which is a water bird. I was watching them. They've been flying over, probably related to the tides, flying over from nesting grounds probably over to feeding grounds. I'm not exactly sure. So that was neat to see, and the connection with the marine environment here. And also likewise the Canada goose. The Canada geese have been hanging out both on the grass here and on the roof, the neighboring roof. I did actually see the Anna's hummingbird dive bomb the Canada geese when they arrived here on the lawn. So that, I don't know if that's really competition, but the Anna's is pretty territorial. So every time I've been here sitting, there's been birds communicating with each other quietly. It's when they're feeding or when they're traveling, they're communicating with their mate or with their flock. And it's because if you're a hunting bird, if you're looking for worms or you're looking for seeds or whatever, you're focused on eating, and you can't be also focused on everything that's around you necessarily. So they use companion calling as a way to stay connected and know where the other is and know where their flock is. And it is such a sweet sound, the way that companion calling here. I heard the bush tits doing it, and they just do a little so sweet. And also the sparrows have been doing it here, and the warblers do it as well. They make these little teeny soft quiet vocalizations, and so if you're paying attention if you're really listening deeply, you can hear them talking to each other. So sweet. And it also is one of the indicators that everything's fine, that things are safe, they're not in mortal terror, they're not super stressed out, they're not like cowering and hiding in a bush. They're going about their regular business. So I have a Cooper's hawk story. It's kind of exciting. Cooper's hawks are one of I think probably the most common hawk that we have in cities. They're a fierce bird hunting hawk. There's different kinds of hawks. Some of them are more eat rodents. Those are the ones you see soaring high above, looking down. And then the bird hunting hawks are accipiters, they're called. They're incredibly agile, and they can fly. They can make right angle turns when they're flying. They can duck through obstacles and go through they can compress their body and their wings and go through narrow treed spaces. And so I had an experience when I was at an Earth Hand Gleaners program here, where we were weaving or something, or spinning, I can't remember, and I kept hearing these crows going on and on and on. The crows, ga, 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 and I could tell it was like 7 crows or something. And I had a look, and I was looking west towards the little cottonwood saplings that are growing there. And sure enough, down at the end over there, I could see the crows, and they were doing their classic, like they fly up and then they dive down, and cawing, making all this noise. And I'm working on a rebrand, by the way. People call it a murder of crows, but honestly, every time the crows are doing something like that, they're trying to let all the birds know that there is some kind of predator there. So I like to call it a megaphone of crows, because they're always telling you about cool stuff. And in this case, I kept weaving for a while, and then I couldn't resist it any longer. I figured it must be a raccoon, and I went over to have a look, and it was a Cooper's hawk in the tree, and just sitting there waiting. I think the Cooper's hawk was hoping the crows would go away, and then it could get back. They really hunt a lot based on the element of surprise. And Cooper's hawks have developed the most amazing hunting techniques in the city. They'll do things like follow the garbage truck, or when there's a plane flying over, they'll use the disturbance caused by the sound of the plane or a sudden gust of wind or something, because their prey, the songbirds that they are looking for to feed their young or to eat themselves, the prey can't hear as well or can't see as well when there's this big disturbance that comes through the land. And the Cooper's hawk would be right there, right behind it. So I've seen that. I've seen it so many times. Not so many. I've seen it like 4 times where the Cooper's hawk uses something. I saw it once where Cooper's hawk, I was up on Burnaby Mountain with Tsleil-Waututh land defenders up there, and we were walking down the main trail, and my friend had a bicycle, but this was not a bicycle trail. I mean, some people ride their bikes on there, but it's not that common. And I heard robin saying, robins have a really specific alarm. It's like a see. It's so high pitched, and it's really hard to identify where it's coming from. But robin does that when she sees, or he sees, they see. Robin does that when they see a bird hunting hawk. Like, that's their common alarm for that. And so I heard robin do that, and when robin does it, it means they can see the hawk. So I was like, oh, I think there's a hawk here. Walk around, and my friend got on his bike and said, okay, I'll meet you there, and went riding ahead of us down this trail. And right in behind him, this Cooper's hawk, just slipped in behind his bicycle, and the hawk was flying at head height, just right hiding behind the bicycle, drafting down this hill. And then they went a couple hundred feet, maybe 150 meters actually. They went pretty far. And then the Cooper's hawk, they was just following the bicycle like this. The Cooper's hawk just ducked into the bushes. Oh, I got a chill. So, the birds, they have to live with this and live with this mortal terror. So they're pretty good at keeping safe, and they're pretty good at letting everybody know what's going on if you figure out how to pay attention. My camera just turned off. So I just wanted to say one more thing that I've been seeing here, which is there's birds in the neighborhood behind us that are using this space. So particularly the crows and the European starling, which is a non-native bird, but there's tons of them. Both of them have nests just across the street for sure. So I've been seeing so many starlings coming down to the grass to get worms and whatnot, and their beaks are just overflowing with food, and they are flying. It's just like they're like, gotta go to the store, hey, go back, gotta go to the store, gotta go back, gotta go to the store, gotta go back. They're just like doing this straight track. And then the crows I've been seeing also gathering nesting materials and flying back across the street. And I've also heard some little noises in from the trees that the kind of vocalizations birds or the crows do when they're pair bonded and nesting. So yeah, there's a lot going on here down at Trillium. I think that it's a beautiful place to come and sit and pay attention. And I think any place is a good place to go and sit and pay attention. I mean, not any place. Sound pollution is actually really challenging for this, and I've found that it's really challenging for doing this digitally and remotely, because our human ability, our senses are so amazing. Our hearing, we can hear in 360. Our vision, we have this like focused vision, but we also have this peripheral vision that allows us to sense movement And so, and our brains have can perform this, like editing out of the things that we don't really want to hear. So like the beeping of the truck behind me and all the SkyTrain going by and all the motors. It's like you recognize all those sounds, but then you can still, when there's a song of a bird, you can hear it because we're here in our bodies and our senses are so amazing. So yeah, but digital technology and my camera and my phone and even my digital recorder now, it's like, it's been a real challenge figuring out how to share this with you in a remote way. But anyway, I'm going to sign off for now from Trillium, and please join me for the next little session where I talk about the 5 voices of the birds. Thank you.